All right, we're out here at Bristol Dragway for street fights. Going to try to manage our expectations. This is an event where any car off the street can come run, so there's a lot of street tires, so the prep gets pulled up really quick. We're going to see if this inch more of travel in the front's going to help us out at all. We have also made some slight suspension changes, so we rolled the car off the trailer in line while we were waiting, and we were able to get it through tech, so we're only going to be like the fourth pair down. So I wanted to give us our best shot at some good prep. So we're going to go to the staging lanes, we're going to set the shocks, set the tire pressure, and we'll see what happens. All right, so we're going to look at some data from this first pass here. If you notice in the video, I get on the brake and the car beside me rolls through the beams. With this being a street fights night, auto start is not on, so they don't like DQ people, they back them up. So I know this, so right here's the first time we get on the brake. I let out of it, no big deal. We get back on the brake. We don't really have problems with the car running hot, but I'm still not going to sit on the trans brake long enough to build the boost that it will. So we have the rev limiter set at 3,700, and we've got 20 pounds of dome pressure on it. Now, if we turn the RPM up, obviously we will build more boost. We're just trying to get something to go. So we're only going to leave on like 5.5 pounds right here. So green line is TPS, red line is RPM, the white is going to be the boost, and this yellow is our drive shaft RPM. So a couple quick notes here. This yellow line for the drive shaft RPM is not an actual drive shaft. It is an actual drive shaft signal, but one of the shortcomings with the Terminator X is its amount of inputs and outputs. I got the Pro Dash so I could wire inputs to it and pass them through to the Terminator. The unfortunate thing is that they are not configurable like the ones if you get the I/O module. So this does not have the tire diameter and gear ratio calculation in it, which is why it only reads up to 135 RPM. But we can get an idea of what's happening, at least for now. So we let off the button, and I'm so used to pedaling, my foot does come off the throttle here about 3%, but I realize it's stuck, and we're back in it the whole way to the stripe, which is the first time all year, and I am super ecstatic that this has happened. So the 60 foot still slow. We knew with it being street fights, the track was going to be, maybe okay on this first pass, and then it was going to slowly get worse. So we just wanted to try to see if we could get something to go down, and then kind of try to build on that and see where we could get. So this purple line, when this pops up, is when I jump on the scramble button. So it takes all of this, and the pass is pretty good. I do notice during the pass this yo-yoing in the RPM, and it looks like the drive shaft is following that. So I'm not sure if this is a pinion angle problem, or if it's that we had the compression on the shocks too stiff, and when we hit the bumps that are at the tunnel at Bristol, if it was just kind of jackhammering on the shocks, and that's what caused this oscillation. So we're going to look at both of those. So yeah, not too bad of a pass. The car's personal best is a 919. So we ran a 946 at 147 miles an hour on a street fights night. I'm going to call that a win for us. So we were pretty ecstatic with that. And one thing that I do, I like looking at this scramble button in the data log, because I come in here and I look at the tune-up and go, okay, I've auto-zeroed my data log here using just the auto zero for when my boost time is above 0.01. and then I lay these incrementals in on top of it. So I know that I'm on the scramble button here at 2.9 seconds into the run. So what I will then do is come back, and in the tune-up, I will go ahead and start putting this scramble of the dome pressure in. So we had, it looks like 5 pounds on the dome, and we had a ramp set to go from the 20 to 25. So we were in that pretty quick. So I'm going to bake this into the new tune-up, and then I'll still have 5 left on my button, or 8 or whatever. And then if it takes that, we just kind of slowly start building at it like that. So everything looked pretty good during this run. We did have some spots where it wanted some fuel. You can tell by this closed loop compensation down here. So we have looked at that, and I have already put that fuel in the new tune-up down here. So I want to go over real quick too. I don't want to keep this too long for the people that are just here for the other content, but if you race, you may enjoy this. This is how we are going to keep track of our data now. So we have a Google Drive, and we have made a spreadsheet in Google Sheets. And what I do is I make a tab for either, like Rogersville, when we run down there, it's always kind of the same. But at Bristol, we're going to have street fight nights, DER, bracket series nights, and streetcar takeover events. So the prep is wildly different between these 3. Street fights, they're going to spray it once at the beginning, and it's going to get pretty bad throughout the night. DER is going to be a bracket prep, and there's a lot more slick tire and radial cars, so the prep stays better for longer on these nights. And when streetcar takeover comes and they bring their crew, that track is on point. So 3 different styles of tune-ups. So we come in here and, we lay out everything that we want. I'll leave a blank row over here. So if it has a green spot in it, that means that we didn't need to pedal the car. A yellow means that we pedaled it, but we got it down. And then if it's red, it just means that it was just a complete throwaway run. We also track the DA. This is going to come in pretty important when we look at our third data log. We keep track of ET and 60 foot, and then, what the shocks were set at, what we did for the tire pressure. And then in our actual drive, I upload my tune files and my data logs, and I keep them organized as well. And then I link those right here in the sheet. So if next time we go to street fights, if we are looking for a place to start, okay, we know that we made it down using this one on our first pass, and we can look at the tune-up and the data log from that pass and see kind of where we were, and maybe we could find a spot in the middle ground here and try to get that to go down. So I think that this is going to be a good way for us to take care of it. The wife does a pretty good job about plugging these numbers in. So she always asks me at the end of the pass if I have any notes, and she's pretty blunt in there. And in this one, clearly I said it finally left. So we throw it in there, but I'll throw any notes. Spun about 3 foot out, but was solid after a pedal. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, let's take a look at this second pass, and then we will come back here and we will check out some more data.
All right, so we made that first pass there. Didn't do too bad. DA's 2,200 foot. We know the track's not going to be super stellar, so we've got it pretty soft to the 60 foot. And I was on the scramble pretty fast, so we left it alone to 1 1/4 seconds, and then we're going to put 10 more pounds on the dome over the next 3/4 of a second. So by 2 seconds, we should be at, I think it's 35 pounds of dome pressure, and we've got 8 more pounds on our scramble up here. So we're going to go back up here and see if we can get this thing to go again. It's the first time we have not had to pedal this year, so I think we're finally getting somewhere on our shocks and our tire pressures and our starting line tune-ups. So yes, let's see what happens. What we've been on all night.
coming out of him or anything. He just pulled over the wall.
No prep.
All right. So now we have our second data log that we are looking at here. And you will notice a few things here. One, this little blip of what we said was a scramble earlier. The scramble and my bump button is the same thing. So that's why there's this little bump here. This is when I actually bump into the second light. So, yeah, you remember how we talked about the track getting progressively worse? Well, yeah, it did. So we left the starting line, and then here is this big pedal from 0.7 in the run to about 1.6. So I'm feathering this throttle in and out for about a second, trying to get it to go. And then we gather it back up, and it feels nice and hooked up. So I jump on the scramble yet again. Now, this time we see this RPM oscillation all the way up here, and the drive shaft is doing it too. There again, I'm thinking that this is probably going to be something to do with pinion angle. We'll just have to check that out. But this yo-yoing of the RPM, I don't like that at all. So we're going to look at that. But you know, these pedals, especially in this first 60 foot, it costs you a lot. So you know, we only ended up going a 962 on that run. But we come back and we're looking at the slow-mo video that you all just watched of the launch, and as the track gets worse, we're going to need to soften up the shocks on the rebound and let it come up and get some more weight on the rear tires. So I believe all we did, which we can look at our spreadsheet here. Let's see, from the first pass, we put that, we changed the tune-up and baked that boost ramp into it. And it looks like we didn't change the shocks on that one. So we see from the video that, you know, we want the front end to come up just a little bit faster. So here we take a click of rebound out of the front, and we go ahead and drop the tire pressure 1 pound to see if that will get us to go down. So let's look at this third and final pass, and then we'll come back here and look at the data from that one. Okay, so now we are looking at the data from the third pass. We are only looking at this for one reason. The tune-up did not change, so we know that these boost numbers are going to be the same, launch RPM's the same. This is what we're really paying attention to. The car was moving around on the big end this time enough that I pedaled the car twice out here. And I even ended up throwing the chute because on a radial, when it gets moving around like that, getting the wheel speed back under control can be a handful. And, you know, we'd rather have to pack the chute than to try to beat a bunch of dents out of this thing. So, we do get a little spin off the line, as I'm sure you heard in the video, but it recovers fairly fast. Then out here, we get these two pedals. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because if we look at the data from the second pass here, we only have this one pedal in here. And we go 9.628 at 151 miles an hour. If we come over here, we went 9.32 at 146 miles an hour, pedaling the car 3 times. This is where these notes come in handy. If we come back here to our track notes, the only thing that we changed, because remember we left the same tune-up in it, we made this shock adjustment, but the DA changed by almost 400 feet. So as that DA number drops, the car is going to pick up more power, and that's where this is going to be really, really handy if you ever end up in an index race or something like that. If you have a target ET that you're trying to run, you can match up your DA and go, oh, hey, if we put this tune-up in it, we're going to go too fast, or, you can try to dial some things back, or, let out whatever you need to do. So I am all but certain that if we did not have to pedal 3 times, that there's a good chance that this thing would have been a very bottom 9, if not a high 8-second pass. So, yeah, keep track of your data, and definitely keep track of the DA if you live, like we live up in the mountains. So, on a really, really hot summer day, it has been as bad as we have seen, I think, 2,700 feet before. And then at nighttime, if it cools off, pretty good, this number drops down a lot and the car will pick up a lot. So, all right, let's get back to the video from Bristol. All right, they just wrapped it up here for the night. So we made 3 passes down here, and like I said, you kind of know what you're getting when you come to street fights. There's gonna be trucks that are muddy, and then we get 1 spray at the beginning of the night, and then that's it. But it's fairly slick out here, but we were able to make it go down all 3 times with a couple of pedals, and went in the bottom 9s each time with some pretty bad 60 foots, and still did fairly decent in my opinion for not being able to make a pass all year. To that we didn't have to pedal, we actually at least got 1, and then it still wasn't too slow on the ones that we did have to pedal. So yeah, pretty happy with tonight. Car's in one piece. Doesn't look like we got to work on it. We'll be back here on Friday next week for a DER bracket series practice, where the street tire thing isn't such a thing there, and the track stays a little bit better for longer. So, yep, we got the car in one piece, and we are done. We are going to head to the house, look over all the data and the videos, and see if we can't find a little more speed even when the track's not great. So, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all in the next one.